Assalamualaikum, peace be upon you. Hi guys. I just wanted to check in and surprise you guys with a vlog because I know my blog posts have been kind of emo lately, but don't worry, trust me, I'm okay. I've just been up to a lot of different things which didn't leave me with a lot of time for blogging. Today I wanted to share something that inspired me, or something which I thought was thought-provoking. It's an excerpt from a speech by David Foster Wallace, or the late David Foster Wallace actually. He was a brilliant writer and professor from California. Sadly, he took his own life in 2008 after suffering from depression for 2 decades. Now, the fact that he committed suicide doesn't make him any less of a brilliant person to me, but I think it shows that depression can happen to anyone, and we shouldn't be too quick to judge people when we don't know what they went through. Anyway, the name of the speech is This is Water, and I'm just going to read it out, alright? Okay. Worship power, you will end up feeling weak and afraid, and you will need ever more power over others to numb you to your own fear. Worship your intellect, being seen as smart, you will end up feeling stupid, a fraud, always on the verge of being found out. But the insidious thing about these forms of worship is not that they're evil or sinful, it's that they're unconscious. They are default settings. They're the kind of worship you gradually slip into, day after day, getting more and more selective about what you see and how you measure value without ever being fully aware that that's what you're doing. And the so-called real world will not discourage you from operating on your default settings, because the so-called real world of men and money and power hums merrily along in a pool of fear and anger and frustration and craving and worship of self. Our own present culture has harnessed these forces in ways that have yielded extraordinary wealth and comfort and personal freedom. The freedom all to be lords of our tiny skull-sized kingdoms, alone at the center of all creation. This kind of freedom has much to recommend it. But of course, there are all different kinds of freedom. And the kind that is most precious you will not hear much talk about in the great outside world of wanting and achieving. The really important kind of freedom involves attention and awareness and discipline, and being able to truly care about others and to sacrifice for them over and over in myriad petty unsexy ways every day. That is real freedom. That is being educated and understanding how to think. The alternative is unconsciousness, the default setting, the rat race, the constant gnawing sense of having had and lost some infinite thing. Okay, this part of his speech really spoke to me because I'm always trying to make sense of the world I live in, and I'm always trying to make sense of who I am. So 2 things stood out for me. David talked about default settings, and I had an aha moment, as Oprah would call it, when I first read the speech. A lot of things that we do, or a lot of things that other people do, may seem strange or not so strange to us because of our default settings. So when you think of default settings, you think of a machine, right? So I think what David was trying to do here was he was trying to draw the relationship between the human condition and capitalism. He's using this example to show that capitalism has turned people into robot-like, mindless beings. I mean, who sets the default settings for machines? People who work in the factory, right? So who sets the default settings for human beings? The society we live in, or rather the capitalist society. I know this is Matrix-like stuff here, but I think the lesson here is to be aware that there is a challenge for us to to be aware that of our current human condition and make the necessary changes to not only reset our default settings, which is the ideals or perceptions that we have due to social conditioning or social expectations, but to evaluate and change it to what makes us authentic beings. The second thing he talked about was freedom, and it's important that he discussed freedom after he discussed the default settings. The kind of freedom he mentioned was not worshiping the self or man-made ideals, paying attention, being aware, having discipline, caring about others, and sacrificing for them, which I would interpret as being a humble person or being a not so selfish person. Interestingly, these are the things that Islam has taught me. And this is why Islam has made a huge difference in my life. It has made me question a lot of things, from the way we live in, the world we live in, and the society that we live in. And it has also made me strive to be a more authentic person. But that's the thing, I don't just question why things are the way they are. I also try to seek knowledge from various sources, and from genuine ones, of course. Which is why I agree with what David said about real freedom, which is to be educated and to understand how to think. And you see, real freedom is when you're educated, but that doesn't necessarily mean having a college degree or having a PhD. It means having awareness of who you are and the world that you live in, which is the key to understanding God, according to the late great Muslim scholar Imam al-Ghazali. And not only knowing how to think, but knowing how to sort out your thoughts as well. Anyway, it's a shame that David had to leave us in such a tragic way, but I believe that his work will continue to broaden people's minds and inspire us to look deep within ourselves. I hope whatever I said has made sense to you guys. I just felt it was worth sharing, and I hope you're having a good week so far. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you.